All right, now that we have done some simplifying radicals and gone over the difference between rational and irrational numbers, we're going to look at solving the following equations. Number one is saying x squared equals 16. So what squared equals 16? We talked about before that square rooting something is the opposite of squaring. And just like when we solved problems before where we had like x plus 2 equals 10, in order to solve, we do the opposite. We subtract 2 from each side, so x equals 8. So we did the opposite of add by subtracting. So for number one, we're going to do the opposite of squaring by square rooting. And when you do one thing to one side, you have to do it to the other. So x equals 4. Same thing for number 2. You're going to square root that a squared to make it just a. So a equals 3. Now we're going to talk about right triangles. The definition of a right triangle is a three-sided polygon, which basically just means shape, with a 90-degree angle. An example of one would be a triangle, so a three-sided polygon with a right angle. Remember that little square means a right angle. And we're going to label the sides A, B, and C, where A and B are called the legs, and C is the hypotenuse. What you need to remember is that the hypotenuse is always the longest side. So for some of you, this is a review, and for some of you, this is something completely new. So in order for a triangle to be a right triangle, it has to satisfy the following equation, where if we square the side length A and add it to the squared side length B, it should equal the side length C squared. This is called the Pythagorean theorem. This is a really big part of 8th grade math, so it's something you really need to understand and get down. So now we're going to indicate whether or not these are right triangles. If you look at number 3, 4, and 5, 5 is the longest side, so that means that A is 3, B is 4, and C is 5. Again, A and B can be interchangeable, but C has to be 5. So A squared plus B squared, does it equal C squared? 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25. So yes, 25 equals 25. So yes, it is a right triangle. Looking at the next one. A is going to be 5, B is going to be 7, C is going to be 13. So is 5 squared plus 7 squared equal to 13 squared? 5 squared is 25, 7 squared is 49. Does that equal 169? Well, 25 plus 49 is 74, which does not equal 169, so no. Next one. This one has something different in it, so we're going to skip 5 for now and go straight to 6, and then we'll come back to 5. So for 6, A is 2, B is 4, C is 9. Is 2 squared plus 4 squared equal to 9 squared? So is 4 plus 16 equal to 81? No. 20 is not equal to 81. All right, so we're going to go back to number 5. It has something different. If you haven't noticed, they already have them in numerical order, so from smallest to largest. So our A is going to be 3, our B is going to be square root 27, and our C is going to be 6. So we need to see, is 3 squared plus the square root of 27 squared equal to 6 squared? Well, we know that 3 squared is 9. We know that 6 squared is 36. It's the square root of 27 squared that we don't know. Well, up above, we talked about how if I wanted to get rid of the x squared, I had to square root it because that's the opposite. So if I am squaring a square root, it's really just canceling out the square root sign. So it just becomes 27. So if I square root 27, it becomes 27. Well, 9 plus 27 is 36. 36 does equal 36, so yes, that is a right triangle. All right, we're going to find the missing side. So now that we have gone through how to determine if it's a right triangle, we're now going to see if we can find the missing sides. So for 7, it doesn't matter which one you pick is A or B, but the missing side is the hypotenuse, so that's the C. So 5 squared plus 12 squared equals C squared. If you want, you can use X instead of C because that's what they have there. So 5 squared is 25, 12 squared is 144, this equals X squared. 25 plus 144 is 169. Again, we're going to square root both sides so that we get just X, and X equals 13. Number 8. If this is A, and this is B, and this is C, because remember the longest side, the hypotenuse has to be the C, then I have 1 squared plus X squared equals the square root of 17 squared. So 1 squared is 1 plus X squared equals 17, because remember when you square a square root, it cancels out. We're going to subtract 1 from each side. X squared equals 16, square root both sides, and X equals 4. And looking at number 9, this one has the triangle on its side. The longest side is still on the opposite side of the right triangle. Doesn't matter which one you pick as A or B. So square root 32 squared plus 3 squared equals X squared. So 32 plus 9 equals X squared. 41 equals X squared. We're going to square root both sides. And remember when we talked about simplifying radicals? I cannot simplify the square root of 41 because 41 is a prime number. So X just equals the square root of 41. And finally, a 5-foot ladder rests against a 4-foot vertical wall. How far away from the wall is the foot of the ladder? So we need to draw a picture. So I'm going to draw a right triangle. And let's go back and look at what we know. A 4-foot vertical wall, which means the vertical side is our 4. And there's a ladder it rests against it, which means it's going to be kind of laying diagonally because you have the bottom of the ladder resting on the top of the 4-foot vertical wall. So we know our ladder is 5 feet long. We don't know how far away from the wall that it's on the ground. So A, B, C. 4 squared plus X squared equals 5 squared. 16 plus X squared equals 25. Subtract 16 from both sides. X squared equals 9. Square root both sides, and X is 3 feet from the bottom of the wall.